Hello, this is Zach Brooks with World Transplant Athletes, tips and tricks by and for transplant athletes anywhere, anytime, and of course, online. If you have a body with a new part and you can move, you are a World Transplant Athlete. As a two-time kidney transplant recipient and frequent participant at local, national, and World Transplant Games, I always wonder, how do other recipients take care of their health and prepare for competitions? Well, for me, there's only one way to find out, and that's to learn from the most inspiring transplant athletes in the world. Today, I have Marc Coronel from the United States. Marc, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So for everyone out there, this is actually really exciting for me. So Marc contacted me over social media, and we're going to do a little social media section at the end of the show. And we actually both have a lot of LA experience. I have my LA Dodgers hat, and so Marc is from LA. So it was really exciting. But actually, I just met Marc today. So this is very fresh for both of us, but I'm excited to have Marc on the show today. So Marc, what I like to do to get people warmed up, and especially want to get audience members to know you, is to give you a few warm-up questions to go through before we get to your tips, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Okay, so the first question I have for you, very, very basic, is which transplant did you have?
I received a kidney transplant December 10th, 2019.
Excellent. Okay. Second question, if you had to summarize your transplant journey into one word, what would it be?
Amazing.
Okay, excellent.
Amazing.
Excellent. Question number 3 is, what was your first exercise post-transplant?
A nice little jog around the lake.
So how long was that after your transplant?
I think it was the 5th week after post-kidney transplant.
That's pretty
Yeah,
fast.
I remember. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
There was a lake or something? What were you saying?
Yeah, so it was a lake, and I really pushed my doctors, hey doc, can I run now? Can I run now? Can I run now? Marc, relax, because you just get this jolt of energy. And I was just in my bed. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta start doing something. And I just really just asked my doctor, hey, can I start running? And it was a slow progress, but 5 weeks out was not that bad. You know what I mean?
How far was it? Do you remember, like a mile or something, or less than a mile?
It was a mile, because I still, that incision still, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it really still had like it was sore, like I had done 500 crunches, right? Um, so I took my time with it, and I slowly progressed to running around it, and really just timing myself. Now at that point, I mean, I did that in actually an hour and a half going around that lake.
Yeah.
So it was a sprint of fast walking, slowing down, sprint of fast walking, slowing down. So I did my own version of a sprint cool down, sprint cool down, sprint cool down, right? And yeah, sure enough, I'm here.
Yeah, I love this question, and I love the answer I'm getting for all these transplant athletes. And there's one guy, Elma, he's a German guy. He's done the Ironman triathlon. So, really phenomenal athlete, but his first exercise post-transplant was a 400-meter run, just one time around a track. And it took him, I think, 40 minutes or something. But, he really
Wow.
indicated that how important it was for him just to move a little bit. And then lo and behold, years later, he competes in Ironman triathlon. So, that first exercise for everyone I talk to is so important, because maybe by any objective measure it's not a big deal, but all the energy and intention you put into that first exercise is monumental. In some ways, it's the most important exercise of your life. So I really love this question. So the final question I have for you to warm up is, in which kind of activities do you regularly participate?
So now I go to the gym, and I do boxing, not as an athlete to start sparring with everybody, but I go in there, I do the speed bag, I do my jump ropes, I hit the bag, my weight training, and golf. So those are my everyday 1, 2, 3. If I don't want to box today, I'll do some weight training. If I don't want to weight train, I'll go and go to the golf course.
Okay. So tell us about boxing, because I know just talking to you offline a little bit that you're a boxer, pretty significant. So you boxed, growing up, or like tell us about your boxing history.
So I started boxing at the age of 14. I was young. It was in my earlier days, and I was competing in the amateur realm, and I wasn't pro yet. And the way I found out, my kidney failure was through a routine physical. But essentially, I had competed for almost 12 years till I wanted to turn pro. Right? It wasn't a I have to turn pro. I have to turn pro. I have to turn pro. But I was really, really active in the gym, in the amateur realm.
So tell us about this routine physical though, because I mean, you told me a little earlier, you had to a routine physical. You thought, oh, this is just a check mark to the next thing, but it turned out to be a life-changing event. So what was the routine physical for?
Okay, so I had to do a routine physical on my 26th birthday, right? Because I was covered by the military, and what they tell their vets is your kid's covered till their 26th birthday. So for me, it was a routine physical. It was a clean slate on my birthday to start a new journey, and also my routine physical for my boxing to turn pro. I said, Doc, don't worry about it. I'm fit. You don't need to worry about anything. I can I can bank out 100 push-ups right now. I'm ready to go to turn to fight. She says, I'm pretty sure there's nothing to worry about. 2 days later, I got the call. I mean, it was really just that quick. She's like, I need to bring you in here for a biopsy. There seems to be an irregular number that popped up in your creatinine levels, and then other levels started to show the same thing. And sure enough, when I came back 2 days later, I was diagnosed with FSGS. Um, Started spilling a lot of protein, and that's when my journey began, from being a fighter to fighting for my life. And that was
Wow.
a great it was a different transition for me to really cope with in the beginning.
Yeah, that's a great way to summarize it. Being a fighter to fighting for your life. Actually, I have a similar story. I was playing soccer in a sand soccer tournament. I broke my toe. I went to the doctor and I said, "Well, I'm fine. Just, you can draw my blood if you want, but I know I'm fine because I've been playing soccer at a pretty high level." And lo and behold, it came back that my kidney was actually in bad shape. But it was only just a routine thing that I thought no big deal, and then my life changed very quickly. So I identify with that story very, very well. So thanks for answering those warm-up questions. So now let's get to your tips, kind of the heart of the show and the reason I do this show. And what I like to do is I like to read the tips from 1 to 5, and then we'll go back to the top of the list and you can talk us through those tips and why they're important for you. So tip number one you have for everyone is, number one is stay hydrated. Number two, know your training regime and the effects of muscle breakdown. Number three, support system. Everyone needs a coach. Number four, getting rest. Your body needs to heal. And number five, diet. What you put into your body will show during your performance. So when we talked earlier, what I was really impressed with is each of these tips seems on the surface really basic, but you have a lot of like thought behind each of them. So I'm excited about how you're going to share that with everyone. So tip number one, stay hydrated. Your kidneys depend on hydration. Talk to us about why that's so important for you.
So, very interesting story. So it goes, in especially with kidney failure, you're diagnosed, you're drinking all this water, you end up on dialysis, you can't drink any water. I mean, 16 ounces of water a day. And then I go back to 3 liters of water a day. Hydration is key for me because I need to make sure that my partnership with my kidney transplant is, we're in partnerships. You're keeping me alive. You're making me get this color back. You're giving me this performance of mental. I call it the mental six pack, right? Because I had that mental six pack going in the beginning. Then I lost my six pack. I gained a gut while I was on dialysis, and then it's post kidney transplant. Mark, your mental six pack is back. And for me, you got to know the difference between your urine equally looking like your toilet bowl, which is overhydration, or you urinating and it looks like you're emptying out from a tab of beer, right?
Mhm.
And knowing the difference of, am I really hydrated, am I not hydrated enough, or where can I find my middle? right? And like the doctors say, they say, you know, we treat patients on a case by case basis. 3 liters for me is normal, to somebody else 2 liters is normal. It's what's your normal when staying hydrated, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like, when you're talking through like between beer and the toilet, like you're really talking about optimal hydration for you. And for you, you really use hydration as a way to tune in to your body, accurately, so know what you exactly need, especially post transplant. So the second tip you share here is know your training regimen and the effects of muscle breakdown. Can you share more about that? Because this one actually struck me as like, I really want to talk to Marc and know more about what he means by this, because presumably you have a lot of experience with this through all of your boxing as well. So tell us about this, knowing the effects of muscle breakdown for you.
So what I didn't realize as I was amateur performing athlete, that the harder you work out, your creatinine levels would raise, right? And now even at post kidney transplant, they said, Marc, you worked out 2 days ago. I said, Doc, I stopped exactly 2 days prior to getting labs. But I can definitely see a significant change when you know that regimen, right? And what I mean by that is now I know for sure I should stop 3 to 4 days out before getting labs so that it can normalize my labs so I can see my base, right? I didn't know that before. I didn't know that your creatinine levels were raised if you perform or do any type of exercise. So what I do is I like to uh, really hone down my body so that my body can get that significant optimal understanding of where I'm at base, right? And here's an example. I went in, and for those who know about kidney transplant, we look at our GFR and our creatinine levels and where they're at. I went from a 1.2 to a 1.49 within a month because I was just so I wanted to keep training, and I let my body rest exactly a day and a half, and it showed that significant amount of change with no diet. I didn't change my diet. It was just that performance
Mm-hmm.
of me saying, you know what, I'm good today. Maybe I can push to get that, to see if my creatinine level will really raise that much. So I use myself as a guinea pig so I can understand how labs affect my performance, how my performance affect my labs, and really just intertwine those two so that I know that how long I should really stop before getting my labs done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we were talking about this earlier, Marc, what I really was impressed with is how you use your labs as part of your own training. Like you've just used it as part of your own personal training algorithm, and now you just use that as a point of reference, and then try to change your behavior, your workout behavior, maybe diet, maybe your water intake, to get to these marks. So I'm really fascinated how you use this whole world of kidney transplantation and all of the labs you have to get as a way to help you with your own training. And that to me seems really impressive and a nice tip to share with people, because when you jump into this world, it seems like you're judged by all of these labs. But what if you just use the labs to your advantage? And that seems like what you've done with this whole idea of what is my creatinine, what am I doing to get to that point versus another point. So really impressive, Marc. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you.
So go
Here's
ahead.
another here.
Yeah,
One more thing
yeah, please.
I wanna say with both those questions with hydration and what you're getting to now. With the overhydration part, I was also looking at my labs of where my sodium level was, my glucose level was, because also those play a factor when looking at my labs. I'm not just looking at my GFR or my creatinine levels. I'm also looking at how hydrated I am and what does that graph say about my body as well. So yeah, all those play a really key component when I'm looking at it to be able to say, Marc, your green light to go and perform at that level you want to,
Mhm.
because everything looks great, right? And if it goes high, why did it go? Was it too much tomatoes, or what triggered a certain level, you
Yeah.
know, with what I'm taking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fantastic. So the third tip you share here, Marc, which I really like, is every athlete needs a coach. So you really talk about the importance of support system. Can you talk about that for you? Because when we talked earlier offline about this, it was, how you talked about these small moves and what a difference they made. Maybe you can share a little bit more of what you were sharing with me earlier about the support system importance.
So here's one of the things that I learned a lot about support system and coaching and being an athlete, right? When you're an athlete, you have a coach. I think when you fight for your life, you have a support system, which really intertwine, right? Because a coach would tell you, Mark, your performance is off a little bit. If you keep dropping your hands, he's going to come in and try to knock you out. With a support system, a caregiver, or just that person who's your crutch fighting for your life, you need someone to say you're not alone. Because a lot of the things that we deal with being a kidney patient is we feel alone. We feel that there's no community. We feel that we're going through this alone. All of our family members look at us in a certain way where you're like, I'm different. They think I'm gonna die soon, or something like that, right? When I talk to a lot of patients and just people in general that go through kidney failure, I ask them, hey, do you ever get that look? And they're like, yeah, you know the look I'm talking
I
about,
know.
right? And
Yeah.
and they're like, you know, and it just brings you back to your reality, right? Of what you're going through. You try to put on that strong face, you know what, I can get through another day. But when you talk to people, it looks like they feel sorry for you. I don't
Yeah.
know I can't describe that look, right?
No, I know
But
exactly what
then
you're talking about.
but your support system, you know, that one person, for me it was my fiance, who told me we're gonna get through this together. I'm fighting your battle.
Yeah.
My coach would say the same thing. Mark, you're in there alone, but we're coming in as a team, believe it or not.
Hmm.
And we have to understand that when it comes to the support system and being a world transplant athlete, right? Is our coach want the best for us. They want us to get that win. Our support system, our fiance, mother, father, brother, family member wants the best for us, right? But we have to listen when it comes to getting that getting that optimal performance and getting a kidney transplant now,
Yeah.
right? Because it's very easy to get into that depressing hole and saying, you know what, my life's already over. I don't think I can get through this because I'm at dialysis 3 days a week. I have to take these phosphorus binders every time after I eat. What else is there for me? You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
my coach is doing his homework by knowing what weaknesses my opponent has.
Hmm.
My fiance is doing her homework by what I should eat.
Yeah.
And it plays an intertwining role how I was able to use athleticism to fight for my life.
Yeah.
Again, I was a fighter. Now I'm a fighter fighting for his life. You know,
Mhm.
I'm fighting for my life. So to be able to use the ingredients I received as a boxer, as an amateur athlete, and to bring it on to my life now, it played that key role to finding and getting that support system where whatever life throws at me, I use my athletic ability to stick and move, right? Stick and move.
Mhm.
Same thing with kidney failure. I had to stick and move. And
Mhm.
it was a way that I was able to really intertwine that to actually say, you know what, this is my new process in life. And
Yeah.
now every time I go into the hospital, my coach now, my fiance, is right there with me saying your labs are going to be great.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. And when I go in and do my labs, it's round one.
It's round one.
And then waiting for that progress to get my results. Okay, I won this round,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a constant. I gotta mentally always think boxing. All right, this is round one, and now getting a kidney transplant is winning the world championship belt,
Yeah.
right? They say a kidney transplant lasts 20 years. Being a champion, you're not always champion for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
right? There's always going to be another competitor, and that competitor is kidney failure,
Mhm.
right? Who's trying to bring me down to say, look, you're going to have to face me again. Let me see if you can win. And that's where my support system comes into place. Mark, keep hitting that bag, keep going. Not
Yeah.
in the physical form, but in that mental six pack where you're constantly doing this without having to do this, right?
Mm.
So that's how a key component with a support system worked for me, and how I was able to correlate the two and just intertwine them and really focus on getting that win every single time.
Yeah.
But I also know at the back of my hand, there's another athlete who's training double time as hard, twice as hard
Hmm.
to try to get that championship belt out, right? For
Yeah.
me, that's kidney failure,
Hmm.
right? So even if I held this for another 20 years, this belt, that's all that matters to me, is that I was able to hold it for 20 years, and let's get into that battle.
Yeah. What stood out for me and what you shared, and thanks so much for that, Mark. That was really excellent. Is the look, because I know exactly the look you're talking about. So if anyone is out there and they're on dialysis or before a transplant or even going through that now, I would just say, we get that look from someone of pity, and that's how I describe it. Don't accept it. Like you're better than that. And just because you happen to be a patient in a hospital doesn't mean you are a patient. That's just a role you're playing at the moment. You have to sort of find a way to move beyond that. And what Mark has done is sort of overcome a lot of things through, like real dedication to a mentality to overcome things. And so that look, when you said that look, I mean, that just it sparks so much in me through my own experience. So really, thanks for sharing that, Mark. So